Listeners and viewers.
Oh,
Good morning, Mr. Curry.
good
Good
morning, Mark.
morning, Kevin. Are you okay?
I'm fine, thank you. Obviously, just my normal technical problems of just latching onto Zoom, so you can hear everything I'm trying to do.
Oh, I just muted you is what I done.
Which is normal for you to mute me. I understand that.
Yeah, absolutely not. And good morning, listeners. You're listening to Amar without Jaff, as you can tell, but I'm joined by two wonderful individuals. Alan, I don't think you've had the pleasure yet, or actually you have. You were the Kingpin champion, were you not?
Well, I was a close second, but in fairness, I was obviously beaten by somebody 35 years younger than me.
Yes, yes. Hello, Kevin.
Morning, Mark. Morning, Alan. Great to
Hi,
be
Kevin.
here.
How are you?
Good. How's it going? And
Well,
great to be here for the first time on the radio, and got a lot of exciting stuff lined up for us to discuss, especially now that the weather is not that great, but we have an exciting weekend ahead. We are up against Fulham tomorrow, so would love to hear your views on that and what your expectations are.
on football.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, we
well,
can't jump straight into football, Kevin. Sorry, that's always a last of the show bit. I don't know why you've immediately started. We need to do the serious parts first.
Oh, yes.
I
The excitement
appreciate
is
that
real.
you've probably been
it's
listening and preparing and all of that. Is what you probably have. Ui's created a presentation, but because I'm remote, as you can tell, I'm not in my usual place or space. I'm actually at Newcastle University, where I'm chairing a panel in about 45 minutes. So I'll be disappearing. But really, type of things that we wanted to touch upon are business. So what's happening in business and the landscape around that. Second thing is inclusion. And the reason why I love having Alan on the show is we love a bit of controversy. We like a bit of, sort of challenge in a positive way, because one of the things that we're immensely proud of on this show and through ABC is our ability to actually have the conversations that people normally don't. So let's start without jumping into Fulham. And whilst it's exciting, and are you a Newcastle fan? Were you trying to butter up Alan, or what was the rationale behind sort of getting super excited talking about Fulham?
Oh, I was very excited to see Isaac in action, but now that he's got the eye injury and now the toe injury, so that's something that's disappointed me a bit. But yeah, I am excited for tomorrow and up against City next week. So yeah, it's an exciting couple of days ahead.
Good. I appreciate your passion. I just simply thought because you knew Alan was a Mackem,
I didn't. Honestly,
Kevin, he's winding you up, Kevin. I'm with you. I mean, I like the top you're wearing in support.
Right. Oh, that's just coincidence. Yeah.
It's a plain red top. Why does it look fuzzy black and white to you?
Yeah, it's probably my older phone. I haven't got the latest one like yourself.
iPhone 61 or whatever it is. Anyway, so I mean, very briefly, because I'm only here for the first sort of 30 odd minutes or so, and I thought it'd be great to get your views. Kevin's a recently graduated student from an international. Alan has supported so much of the educational experiences of so many in different ways, including Alan and I delivering programs. Alan, we actually became qualified tutors.
You did, yes.
We not?
You put me through loads of different things to get where I am today.
Yeah, and that's how do you think I feel?
And I'm
So
still a qualified first aider.
brilliant, good. You're on our wall. So as a qualified first aider and a license. Have we are we not qualified license holders?
We were, but I think it's probably expired now. Personal licenses to be able to run a licensed premise, but I think they only last for 7 years.
Yeah, right, okay, fair enough. Anyway, it's wonderful to have those experiences. And the point and the relevance of that is quite simply that I'm here today chairing a panel as part of Freshers Week or whatever it is, inviting students to hear about our wonderful city, our region, and the experiences and the opportunities there. And we've got a great panel. So we've got the Chief Exec of the Northeast Chamber of Commerce, John McCabe. He was also a business person. He's also an all-round good guy. We've got a student graduate, Rowan, who she has created a health tech company. We've got Dawn Dunn, who leads on inward investment. And the reason why I'm mentioning these individuals is I'd really like to get your view, Alan, of someone who's been born and brought up here, the value and the worth and the passion and the positivity of our Northeast and Newcastle for these students who are fundamentally aliens to our area. And what type of things should they or could they do, and what type of business opportunities there are. And then from you, Kevin, as a recently migrated Geordie Isaac loving Newcastle fan, working in a wonderful establishment, what are your experiences both as a student in Leeds? Don't know why you went to Leeds, but anyway, that's a different conversation. But yeah, so Alan, let's kick off with you. Start by saying who you are, what you do, and why you do it, please.
What I do, why I do it. I seem to be a jack of all trades now, different things, but obviously my background was policing when I retired a number of years ago. And obviously I've been working with yourself since the conception of ABC, from our launch at the Baltic, wasn't it? From our launch at the Baltic to even to now and carrying on.
ABC, yeah, so 16, 17 years ago now.
Yeah. And okay, you've outlined a number of things we've done together or individually or on behalf. And as a consequence, I'm still got things I get up to at this moment in time, helping friends out with their companies and different things. And actually, today I've been back to the father role, right? So I'm in my son's house because he's had to go to the dentist and it had to be a specialist part. He's had to be sedated. So I had to look after him. So when I go back to my dad's role, it just takes me back to 1980 when he was born, if that makes sense. But if moving on to your next part about students, my grandchildren who are 25 and 26 and who you've met over the years and more are both, one's a teacher now, one's a computer programmer. Andrew went to Northumbria University and Eleanor went to Birmingham. And one of the things I think you alluded to from strangers in the area, and I go back to Rob, you remember Rob, who was when he was down in the education? And it always struck me when he talked about, yes, people go to university and obviously there's an objective, hopefully, and yes, there's obviously bits of time. But what he did explain to me, and I watched with my own grandchildren, was getting out of their home environment into a different environment and exploring the different opportunities that are not just naturally educational. Andrew ended up working down at the Biker Farm. He was running the Students' Union. He helped out in Freshers Week. Eleanor did similar things down at Birmingham. So I think there's two parts to the university experience that I've experienced by watching, not because I ever went there. One is the educational aspect and hopefully providing the possibility for employment in the future, but maximising the experience.
And I think maximising experience is the critical part to this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I watched my two grandchildren grow because they were put in different environments they volunteered to help out with. So Andrew was like the the treasurer for the biker farm and helping people down there with some of the issues. Obviously working within the students' union and learning about elections and, you know, managing processes. And then even just the aspect of helping out on Freshers Week, which we all seem to think Freshers Week's a nice week, but of course they did lots of things by heading down the coast. And if the current Freshers Week for Northumbria and Newcastle are the same, they're already exploring the potential advantages of being in our great area.
Brilliant. And it is those experiences and opportunities that genuinely influence your educational career, don't they? So taking advantage of, we've worked, you talked extensively about ABC. So we had our Asian Business Connections Society set up by students in Newcastle University Business School. We took them down to Parliament. We connected them with local businesses. They had a great experience and you know, got exposed to lots of business owners, leaders, community groups, and really enriched their whole education. Some of them were even given opportunities, interns, jobs on the back of those, because it is a case of, you know, what you know, who you know, and how you know them, that influences that. Kevin, coming on to you. So tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it?
Excellent. It's been an interesting journey, starting off from just education and then moving on to my career. So I started off with my personal career, professional career back in 2014. I started working in a call center linked with a large bank here in the UK, and very interesting conversations, mostly around football, even with the clients, even though we had a lot of other things to discuss. And followed by then having me graduate through a business degree and then have a master's in a business degree. And I, for some reason, never really wanted to study, but the more I tried to run away from it, the more it pulled me in. So I then came to the UK, wanted to learn more about international business, and the UK and the European market being a big reason for that, given a lot of internationalization and a lot of trade relationships that have been built over the years. So the UK seemed like the best place to pursue this, given the research and the abilities to conduct research at a large scale with high quality standards. So I moved to Leeds, given the ranking for the course that I was looking for, international marketing management. Came here, started working with a startup that was working on a deep tech initiative, had a lot of interesting things to develop, build, and network with, had a good opportunity to collaborate and speak to a lot of people around, not just within the UK, but Europe as well. Also had a couple of opportunities to connect with people from the Middle East. So it's been an interesting 1 year that I would be summing up. And now here in Newcastle, a lot of good memories that are already being built within a 1.5 month period. And what's interesting is when I walk down the street, I now see a lot of new students, which I can resonate with, that I had a similar journey, almost looking at them back a year. And what's interesting is that a lot of these conversations that I have with them is around just familiarizing and just getting closer to the culture around. And everyone would understand and try to ask me is, you know, how do I get to learn more about the people and the culture around? How do I get to, you know, get into one of these football groups or, you know, these initiatives where I can help people around? So, and it's one of those conversations that a lot of the locals and the international people possibly have a gap in between. And this is something that I would, you know, possibly suggest the international students to make more friends amongst the locals and have these conversations around with them, because it's only once when you get that chance to go out and spend time with them is when you get to learn more about the culture. So I'm myself in that progress and process. So I'm excited to be here and get to learn a lot on that. And I've had a brief conversation with Alan the last time we met, and those half an hour to 45-minute conversations was enough for me to get to learn a lot around, and I'm looking forward to more of those. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, Amar.
Good, thank you. And Alan, coming back to you then. I can't remember what we wanted to talk about because there was something explicit. It was probably about race or gender or community or
No,
I-
I think Kevin's brought it right back to football, isn't he? And
Yeah.
Keir Starmer's freebies.
Yeah.
How does the business world react in that world?
Which world? Say that again.
Well, obviously the critical thing at this moment in time, it's for the last week everybody's been going on about Keir Starmer and how much he's been given a free activities and aspects of that. Now, is that a normal process, would we believe, in the business world, just to give people things for nothing? Or are we suggesting, or is there a suggestion that it's trying to influence? Because we're talking business, aren't we? And I've listened to a lot of people on the radio this week saying that in businesses, they're not allowed to accept gifts or they don't even give gifts. So it's a strange thing that's going on in our politics at the moment around that particular issue and business.
Undoubtedly. And around that, because I always feel, and it is, to put it bluntly, politically motivated, isn't it? Whether it's a tit for tat type of scenario, it's pot calling kettle, it's, they said, she said, the responses to individuals, it doesn't make it right, far from it. I'm just saying that when you're a public figure, and even when you're not a public figure, and the definition of a public figure, because Alan, actually, one of the things that I want to briefly touch upon is, you know me, have known me for an incredibly long time. I've been incredibly fortunate and appreciative and grateful to have someone like you in my life. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your constant and consistent counsel, support, eagerness to just jump in and let's just do things. But I do things, right, because I genuinely feel as if they're the right things to do, as in it's something like either exciting or it's going to make an impact, or, it's just, I've never done it before. And one of the things that I'm challenged with is when someone says to me, "Amor, what do you do?" And I go, "Everything I can," right? Everything I can. Because I never ever want to be anything.
Too
The
much.
downside of that though, Alan, is that doesn't mean that I'm the best at everything I do. I try and be, and I try and have a deep understanding. And I could probably tell you what not to do at times. Is what you are. Kevin, why has the recording stopped? Kevin?
Not sure. Let me check.
Okay. So
I,
Alex, the point is, I don't know why that happened.
I didn't touch anything.
No, I know you didn't. I'm trying to understand why the recording stopped. I wasn't going to say anything controversial, I don't think. I might have been, but maybe it was, let's pause the tape while we beat them all up, something like that. I don't know, Alan, what do you think that was?
Not for a minute.
Just right, interview stopped because of right, right. Yes, it was me. It was me, honest. Anyway, my point being is there's a lot of jealousy out there, isn't there, Alan? There's a lot of, God forbid a time when you would go to the doctors, or you'd go to the police station, or you'd go to the ambulance, or you'd go to the hospital, or you'd go to the public services, and they'd have signs up saying, please don't abuse our staff. That you'd have that in teachers, that there's, this vexatiousness, this anger, this Pandora's box has been unleashed everywhere to like encourage people to be like nasty and horrible and malicious and vindictive. Why is that so much more prevalent now than ever before?
It's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer. I think, and then we've got to go back a few years. You and I respectfully were the way we were brought up, right? Please and thank you was just the words we used, wasn't it? We weren't in a hurry to get to the front of the queue. We keep priding ourselves, allegedly British way of queuing, which we all do. I was always taught when I was on the bus with my mum, if a lady waiting to sit down, then I would be the one who'd be standing up to make sure the lady sat down. If you stand at the bus shouting now, it just seems normality to use bad language with the kids. So I'm just think somehow in that context, I'd say two things. Our standards have slipped. Now, that could be parental or otherwise. That's one thing. The other side you alluded to there was jealousy. Now, I'm comfortable in my life. I can get by. My wife and I and the family, we're happy. We're self-made. We're not a millionaire by any stretch. But I don't begrudge anybody who's got money, if that makes sense. But it appears to be that we do, or some people seem to think that if you've got a lot of money, you shouldn't have it, because other than the odd people, and I say the odd ones who've probably inherited a lot of people seem to work incredibly hard. You know nobody better, the way you've explained the way your parents worked like 14, 15 hours a day, how you were sitting in the shop as a young kid because they couldn't leave your babysitters and things like that. So it just seemed to be, and sounds a little bit old, but some of our standards have broken down.
Yeah. And you're right, but it's a real shame that people are now fixated at the negatives and the negativity, and that we've created a more divisive and sort of malicious type of environment where it's just absolutely normal, these what I would describe as abnormal behaviors. The level of suspicion, and that then leads to the level of suspicion. Alan, gosh, the amount of volunteering you've done, the amount of support you offer to everybody anywhere is just amazing. And I've seen that. And actually, I've experienced that. I haven't just seen it. You've always been there. You're always like sort of, provided that independent. I might not agree with your view many a time, but you've always got that view and that sort of independence and that impartiality.
But isn't that possibly what you're alluding to? I'm quite happy to listen to anybody talking about any subject, because sometimes I learn things I didn't know, but because they may have a different opinion to me when we're in the discussion, I ain't going to fall out or go away and call people names. That's how you learn. But we do seem to, going back to what you say, have a process that if you don't believe what I believe, then you're absolutely wrong or not a very nice person, as opposed to the objectivity of learning.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's a peculiar place. Anyway, which leads me on to the platform that we've jointly created, AB Connections, the not-for-profit social enterprise. So it was always established. It was the first one of its kind in the UK from an ethnic representative point of view. And it's the one that continues to go and grow. And, the ambition around it, Alan, was always to break down barriers, address some of the challenges, and we've now got these awards that have become the backbone of what we're trying to achieve. And we've got one of our sponsors joining us in a minute. So Jennie, kindly from Newcastle Building Society, is going to be joining us in a minute. We're going to say hello and hear a little bit more about Newcastle Building Society's ambitions and visions. And the point around me with that negativity and everything else is it's actually incumbent upon us to be raising the positive profile of organisations and individuals that are making a difference, you know, to recognise the Alan Currys, to appreciate the Kevin Allens, and you know, respect all of the individuals, regardless of the colour, regardless of the gender, for the difference that they make. And we'll never stop appreciating those that are making a difference. Anyway, let's invite Jennie in and say hello. Alan, are you still good? Because you were disappearing.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine for the moment. Yeah, because obviously I'm doing it from my son's place, so I'm okay. Winston's not here. That's the only thing.
Okay. Anyway, Jennie, are you there? Good morning, Jennie. There you are. Can you hear us? Jennie, are you there? We can't hear you.
It'll be those magic words we never used before. You're on mute.
No, I don't think so. Jennie isn't on mute, but we can't hear you. I think you may need to connect to the app. There you are. Woohoo! Jennie.
Oh. Good morning.
Speak. Jennie, speak. Can you speak? Hello, Jennie. Jennie, we can see you. We can't hear you. Jennie, you need to talk. Can you talk?
2024 now, and we still can't get past all these technological issues. So that's
Jennie,
where.
are you there? Jennie.
She's typing. We can hear her type.
We can. Hello, Jennie. Hi. Hello. 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 Apologies, listeners, because it's we're sat here looking. So and Amit's here as well. So it's all turning into a huge party. Jennie, can you try talking? Because I can't see you move your mouth. So I have you tried? Have you tried talking? Jennie.
Morning, Amit. How's it going?
Yeah, all good, guys. How are we?
Yeah, there's a big party going on, is what there is. Jennie joined us and then disappeared, but I was encouraging Jennie to try and talk because I couldn't see her talking, so we would never know if we could hear her otherwise. Are you there, Amit?
I am, yes.
All right, sorry.
You can't see me. Sorry, my video's on.
Is that like an incredibly long delay for the radio's benefit?
Well, it is radio, so whether or not you can see me or not shouldn't really impact on a radio show, should it? Because the thousands of listeners can't.
I can see Amit when you're talking.
I can see you too. It took you a while to say something. That was all. And those 3-4 seconds on a radio where I'll get sacked by you.
That is very true.
Anyway, good morning. We went from this is what happens when you say I need a friend and everybody piles in. It's a wonderful thing to sort of go, I need someone to help us with the radio show. Jeff's not around. And actually, we've got so many stories to tell. Jennie was there We're keen to get Jennie on, but I don't know what happened. Amit?
I don't know, we'll find out anyway. But there's loads of stuff going on, isn't there, right now? It's a busy hive of activity. It's been really exciting over the last couple of weeks at ABC. We conducted a roundtable, an inclusion roundtable earlier in the week, and that was really good. Lots of exciting discussions at the roundtable, and it was focused on awards as well this week. In line with our ABC awards coming up in a month. So we talked a little bit about awards and the inclusion process and how everyone does it, and how even big national organisations are changing their awards process to be more inclusive.
Yeah. Jennie, say hello.
I can hear you. Can you
Oh.
hear me?
There you go.
Oh, dear me. It's always the tech, isn't it? It's always the tech.
Yeah.
I did say to Amit that we don't have it at work because it's locked down. So I thought I'd just it on my personal laptop, but it let me down. But never mind, we're here on the phone.
Brilliant.
Nice to meet you all.
And you too. I'm just conscious that 3 is a crowd, or 4 or 5 or whatever it is, and Amit's kindly dialed in. So I'm going to teleport out of here in a minute and leave Amit to continue the interview with you, Jennie, if that's all right.
That's fine.
The bits that you probably didn't hear prior to you coming on were the importance and criticality of inclusion, celebrating differences, recognizing diversity, and the impact of everyone, not just particular community groups, not just males or females, white or ethnic minority, but really trying to raise the ambitions and aspirations of everyone. And it's something that ABC, Alan's been there from the start, Amit's been there, and Amit's leading on a number of things. But actually, we could and would be unable to do this on our own. And without the critical support of, for me, some of the best organizations that represent our community, our Northeast, so who have that sense of purpose, that sense of positivity, that sense of passion to try and support everyone. And actually, there's no one better typifying that than you, Jennie, and Newcastle, building society as well. And it's like, for me, it's just, it's a great organization. So anyway, let's kick off very briefly, because I am going to disappear.
I'm going to have to email them all at the same time.
Okay. Jennie, let's start by asking who you are, what you do, and why you do it, please.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Jennie Pitt. I'm the head of diversity and inclusion at Newcastle Building Society. And why do I do it? Well, that's a really deep question to start with. But I guess I've always been passionate about creating inclusive environments. I think going back to my childhood, I grew up, my parents had nothing. So I grew up in real social deprivation in a place called Oldham, which you might have heard of, in the north west. And I guess was constantly told at school that we wouldn't make anything of ourselves because of the background that we'd had and the lack of opportunity. So I think throughout my life, I studied psychology, did a master's in psychology, was interested in understanding kind of the psychology of background of different groups. And then I think that's always driven me in organisations to add a previous HR background, but then wanted to get into the inclusion space because there's so many disparities that exist for different communities. And I think it was about how we can work to, as organisations, to remove some of those barriers and disparities and just create more opportunities and create more inclusion and accessible, particularly from an employment perspective, for everyone. So I think it's quite a deep question, but there's quite, it aligns to my values. And I think I'm really lucky now that I work in a role, and I have specialised for the last 10 years, where I'm excited about work, I'm passionate about what I do, and I think really passionate about trying to make a difference for those that have, are facing barriers or have less opportunity, or whatever it might be from whatever perspective. And I think organisations play a huge role in that. I think getting everybody together, creating that, as there's a collective voice, we can have so much more of an impact. And Newcastle, I'm really lucky because we're a mutual. It isn't about profit and it isn't about kind of what we make. It's about putting that everything that we make, because we're a mutual, goes back into serving our communities. So it's a really purpose-driven organisation. So I feel incredibly lucky to be working for an organisation that matches my own values. And I think the work that you do, I think it's funny because we sponsored the Mela this year, and I think we've tried to get a coffee in the diary. I'm sure we have for some time, and obviously sponsoring the Mela, I think then obviously Amit contacted me about sponsoring ABC, and when I did more research on your website, just all the incredible work that you're doing, to remove inequalities and some of those structural barriers to inclusion. I think you are really aligned to what we stand for and what we're trying to achieve as well as an organisation. So it felt like a natural fit to get involved in the awards, and I'm sure there's much more work we can do together as well beyond this.
No, thank you, and absolutely, and I remember having my little passbook years ago when Mum got me it, right, and we put our pennies into the building society, and you'd used to go and get it stamped and whatever it was. It's so I've got avid memories of that, and Mum purposefully sort of going and saying, I want to join that building society because this is where we live and this is where we're from, and there's a real sense of purpose around that. And then experiencing some of the work that you do with education, young people, the boardroom challenges and various other support that you quite discreetly, and the autonomy that each of the branches have in supporting their locality. I think the work that you do is fantastic, and we're incredibly grateful and proud of the association and the support. And you're absolutely right. There's far more that we can do, and it's something that Amit and Kevin and Alan are leading on as well. Making sure that when we talk about inclusion, we're not creating further division by that. What we're saying is, of course, there are inequalities. Of course, females require more support because of the gender inequality. Of course, ethnic minorities may not get the same opportunities as other communities, but actually it isn't a case of marginalizing the majority. It's about bringing everyone together and those shared experiences, and actually listening and hearing and addressing some of those issues that they might have on their mind, and having very open conversations. I mean, Amit hosted a round table on awards earlier this week, and part of the conversations were what are reasonable adjustments and what are unreasonable adjustments, and how do because they differ from a huge corporate who has the resources to a corner shop or a restaurateur or a small firm of solicitors or whatever. There's certain things that you can do, certain things that you can't. And I know you've spent a lot of space in this, and it's wonderful to hear, because Oldham's a lovely place as well. There's that similarities around industrialism and all of those things with our wonderful Northeast. But what does success look like for you, Jenny?
I think success, I think we're a long way off kind of where we need to get to, but I think success is if we're coming together, and like you say, if we're joining forces, we're listening, we're having the conversation, that's the start. And I think from that, for me, success would be that we've, everybody's got equal opportunity, and everybody's supported to thrive, and there's respect, acceptance, understanding. I think, there's a lot of division, isn't there, at the moment? And I think that's been driven from social media, from politics, and, it's some of these topics are emotive, but actually, if we start having conversations and raising understanding and sharing experiences, then I think then that leads to people thinking a little bit differently and can lead to change. So I think, success is if we continue to have the conversation, we've got to focus on this, but removing the barriers and yeah, giving everybody an equal chance.
Wonderful. So forgive me, I am going to hand
That's
over.
all
to
right. I know
Alan.
Amit did say you needed to leave.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
So,
Great
so
to
I
briefly meet you.
apologise. Yeah, and you too, Jenny. We need to get that coffee in.
We
I mean,
do,
interestingly,
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm chairing a panel
I-
at Newcastle University with international students is what I am. So, you
Oh,
know, demonstrating that
fabulous.
inclusion and promoting
Yeah,
our
brilliant.
so anyway, take care. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Alan.
Take care. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jenny. Bye, Amit.
Bye.
Bye, Kevin. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye, Alan. But so Jenny, tell us a little bit about how you got
Sorry,
into.
I interrupt. I'm just going to have to go as well. I've got to sort my sister with a doctor's appointment. So I'll catch up with you later. Jenny, nice to hear from you.
Yeah,
Look,
lovely to
yeah,
meet you, Ellen. Bye bye.
I'm sure you will. It's a bit like the Flintstones when you meet us all, but in person. Try not to worry.
Look forward to it.
We're equally odd, right? Thanks a lot. See you soon, Amit.
Cheers. See you
Kevin?
soon.
See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
It's so funny, Jenny, because sometimes when we meet and we do show business, I think some of them forget that it's a radio show. So it's like, oh, see you later, as if we're actually all friends meeting at a coffee shop. So Jenny, tell us a little bit about how did you get to Newcastle then?
How did I get to Newcastle?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
how did you end up in Newcastle, the city, and then tell me how you ended up at the Building Society as well.
So yeah, I think there's something really delightful about Newcastle as a region. I actually live in North Yorkshire, so I travel into the region. So I am on the edge. We have still got a presence in North Yorkshire, but there is something just really friendly about the North East. And I think, you know, like I said, I've specialised for 10 years now in this space. But what I love about Newcastle Building Society, and when I was approached for the role, I absolutely snapped the hands off, because I can honestly say they are really genuinely purpose driven, and that drives absolutely everything we do. It's embedded, it's woven into everything. You know, it's our strongest USP, I would say, and we're a bit of a hidden gem, if I'm honest, because I think it's not always that visible, all the great stuff that we do in our communities and actually what we stand for. So I think, yeah, our CEO's amazing. He's a real trailblazer. I think we're kind of taking a very different approach to financial services than what some of the other big institutions are doing, in that we're investing in the high streets. We see that that's a really big opportunity for organisations to, you know, regions to thrive. You know, the high street is a bit of a dying, you know, when you walk around the town centres these days, everything's closing. So we see that as a key enabler for communities to thrive, really. And we've been a bit innovative in our approach, in that we're opening branches, and we've got 5 branches in community spaces, so in libraries, in the YMCA in North Shields is a recent one. So in Hawes, we've got one, because obviously Hawes is a really rural village in North Yorkshire where there's no financial access. So again, part of our inclusion agenda is making financial services accessible and inclusive for everybody. So that feels like we're bucking the trend in some ways, but it's great because it's allowing us, where we've got a branch space, we can do lots of great community work, as well as operate what we do as our business, which is financial services, savings, mortgages and financial advice.
Well, it's funny because we're talking about that community space that you do at the branches. So for the last 4 or 5 years now, my mum runs a Friday coffee group at one of your branches in the little meeting room. And she's got about 15 friends that all come together on a Friday afternoon. They grab a sandwich, they have a bit of food, and they literally use your community. And that's the first time that I was made aware that there was a community space that can be used, a meeting room for people to get together. And it's great, because actually, otherwise these people wouldn't get together.
Yeah.
And
it's
a space that you
hiring places. Yeah, exactly.
And it's a space that you guys have got that isn't being utilised, and actually, and you know, concept-wise, it was great. I was like, actually, I don't understand why more businesses and more businesses on the high street that have got that room behind the meeting room, or they've got a lot of space, why they don't open it up. Because since then, actually, Mum's opened up an account. We used to have it as a child as well, with a little book that used to go in the little machine, and you see your little balance going up and down and stuff. And then And then, as you'd expect, you moved over to banks, and banks took over, and it just all of a sudden you don't think. Well, I don't think of a building society when I think of a bank. I would literally go to some of the major ones. But since in the last 4 or 5 years, all of my stuff and my mum's stuff and our family stuff is moved over to the building society because A, she goes every week anyway, so she's in the building and it can get done. You've got a high street presence. You've got one actually. You're the only one where I live, just north of Newcastle. You're the only bank or building society that's left here, other than the post office, if you have a post office account. And it's just, it's so great to be able to go into a branch sometimes. Yes, you can do a lot of stuff online, but sometimes you just need that conversation. And we're losing that nowadays. You've got all these tech bots that if you go online and you're trying to do something, and you get this tech bot asking you what the problem is, and it's giving you a pre-programmed, a chat GPT-esque answer to your question. It's like, oh my God, like, and I work from home. I'm like, do I have some days I have no interaction with anyone.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, and to be honest, there's something about the passbooks that our members love as well. Like, you know, they want to keep them, and I think there's something quite lovely about that. But we've got you know, even in the city of, which is quite exciting, we've got, you know, where French Connection used to be, that's going to be our flagship branch. That's opening next year. So that will be the ground floor financial services, but the rest of that building, so it's 5 floors, will be community spaces.
Oh, that's why you've got a great big
yeah, that's why we did the round
okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was just great PR, but you've took over that site at the monument.
Yeah, so we'll be transferring our Northumberland, because obviously we've got a branch on Northumberland Street, but we'll be moving into there next year. But that'll give us, again, the opportunity to really do so much community work, because there'll be 4 floors available for Mellor in the city. It'll be right outside there, so we can look at how we can align those activities as well next year. So it's exciting, but it's very different to other financial institutions, which again feels quite special.
And you do the standard stuff like business accounts and charity accounts and all of that good stuff, don't you?
Business accounts is more banking. So we do savings, charity, mortgages, financial advice, all that stuff you can do through us, but not business accounts. That's more banking for like community groups and organisations that would be available. Not a business one.
But in terms of that kind of charity accounts but there's lots of community groups that are doing great work out in Newcastle, and actually sometimes they need a community account, and you do you provide grants and stuff, funding and stuff as well.
Yeah, we do. And actually with businesses, because we do have a presence on the high street, what we did develop is something called One Banks. So for local businesses where banks were removing their presence, there's a cash point, so the way they can pay in funds. So again, that's making, because for SMEs, if then they're getting cash from their business, that's again still making financial services accessible through that kind of innovative solution that we've put in. But yeah, the community fund is again another one of our I suppose what makes us a little bit different. We partner with the Community Foundation, and we give out, like, we have 2 grant periods per year, April and October, and community organisations, charities can apply for funding through that grant, and that's all obviously through partnership with the Community Foundation. It's administered through them. So that's something that we should definitely promote, and I encourage every community organisation that I meet to take a look at that. And I think the more that we develop our community partners connections, we've got a number of them now through Odeon Islands, obviously Newcastle Mellor being one of them, but SmartWorks that operate in the region, Albert Kennedy Trust are a LGBTQ+ homeless charity. So we're trying to do it across a range of different issues and groups. And obviously ABC, I'm sure, will be another partnership that will continue to look at what work we can do and to grow, because that's really important for us. to listening. Everybody's got different needs. Everyone's got different kind of expectations from organisations. And I think unless we're connected to the communities and all of our communities, then how do we know that we're meeting everybody's needs and it is accessible and inclusive for everyone? So I think having that presence with different community organisations is really important to us. So we're excited to see what this. We're still at the start, and I think, you know, we've got our own internal D&I strategy, A Place to Be You, which stands for, you know, everybody being able to be the true and authentic selves and to thrive. And we look at that through our own employees, but also through a customer and community lens. We're still in its infancy, so we've been spent the first year getting the foundations in place, but yeah, that's continuing to grow and embed, and I think the community aspect is a really key part of that.
Yeah, and we've got at ABC, we've got our inclusive innovation framework that we're pushing out in terms of for businesses, because actually, as you're aware and you're in the area, not all businesses have D&I teams and departments, and actually sometimes they don't know the difference between diversity and inclusion as well.
Yeah,
they might.
Yeah,
A lot of the work that they're doing is very much on diversity and maybe teaching about other cultures and being accepted. But what they don't realise is actually sometimes that's not inclusion.
Yeah.
And where we've got a whole framework where we go in and speak to businesses and talk to them about how inclusion is and actually how can you be innovative with that. And there's a whole framework and a module. I'm trying to think of the word that you used at school, a syllabus. That's the word. So it's a whole syllabus that we go through in order for businesses to start that journey. And like you said, everyone's pretty much on the start of that journey, but that is a very long journey to be. Yeah. So just quickly, last couple of minutes, what do you see if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and you could see and you could make the world a better place for inclusion, what would your magic wand be? What would one thing that you'd want to change straight away be?
I think, gosh, that's again another philosophical question.
I said I wasn't going to ask any difficult questions.
Just for everybody to have greater empathy and understanding, and to understand and kind of spend some time just experiencing other people's perspectives, to spend a day in a life of somebody else. Because I think if everybody just got the chance to do that, people would change. We spend a lot of time focusing on storytelling and, you know, letting people kind of think about things in a different way. So yeah, if we could eradicate, it would be just everyone just being together, united, no division, no kind of the nonsense that we get at the moment from, you know, some of that's driven through politics and social media, just being able to be united together and standing as one, really. I think you'd like to think that in where we are in the 21st century that we'd be in that position. It feels like we've made some progress, but there's still such a lot to do, isn't there? I think.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so very much for joining the show today. So that was Jennie from Newcastle Building Society. This was Show Business on Spice FM.